Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another review, and today I'm taking a look at something extremely unique. This right here, believe it or not, is a brand new Gunpla, even though it doesn't look like it is at all. This is the RX-78 Gundam Revival version. This is a little bit of a kind of modernization or renewal of the very first ever released Gundam model kit of all time. The older model kit was in just plain white, had seams and stuff all over the place. This is it again, aesthetically, just this time in full color, and a lot of the seams are hidden or removed from it entirely. We also have some very impressive part separation too, and what can I say, it is very, very unique. It does say on the bottom of the box there, this is to celebrate the 45th anniversary of Gundam, and I felt like this was a little bit of a flaccid way to do that, considering around the 40th anniversary we were getting some insane stuff. But then I realized, I think that was the 40th anniversary of Gunpla. So the 45th anniversary of Gunpla will actually be next year, so I'm excited to see what they'll be announcing for 2025. Anyway, if you do want one of these of your own, I got mine from those awesome people over at Hobby Link Japan. Link is down there in the description. Now let's get this old school masterpiece put together. On busting open this box right here, we're greeted to 2 bags of runners as well as a manual. Inside of both of these bags, we've got 4 runners in total, which is quite a bit compared to the kit this is based on, the original RX-78 kit from 1980. That particular kit only had 2 runners, and both of them were in a kind of bluish white. This one has 4, so the color accuracy is nearly pretty much full. Now, one of the coolest aspects inside this kit is this right here. This is the manual, and it's not like your standard Gunpla manual whatsoever, and it really does show the target demographic of this particular kit, because there's a lot of these right here, which says omoite, which means memories, as it says there in English, of course, and it's a lot of things about back when we were kids, the way that we used to do it. So this is definitely aimed at probably Japanese men in their 50s plus. However, I still do that right there. I'm always putting fingerprints in my paint. Now, there are some very interesting aspects down these little yellow columns at the bottom of the pages. Once again, this is Japanese oyaji talking about how it was back when they were kids. And it's funny, I guess things don't change that much because, first off, there are haiku in this, which is kind of a lot of fun. The first one right here says, "A shop full of kits, the grown-ups bought all the goofs, I'm left with a Magellan." But yeah, this one here, this hits hard right now considering the state of affairs with kits. It says, "We excitedly ran to toy stores, but the Gundam was too popular that many of us couldn't buy it." That's what's going on right now with every kit. But my favorite haiku out of all of this is this one right here. What it says is, "Parts on the shoulders, when they're glued in the wrong way, the arms become stuck." But yeah, when it does come to the overall build of this kit, it's a lot of fun. It's very unique. Now, I thought this was pretty much just a color variant of the older kit, and I was like, how is this so nice? Did they engineer kits this nicely before? The way the leg almost, the armor kind of slides down like a sleeve over some of the joint aspects, and it all slots together in a really impressive kind of way. But no, this is a completely rebuilt from the ground up kit for 2021. Every joint is different, including the hips, all the way the body is made, the impressive color separation in the upper torso, including full color separation of that yellow V in the crotch. All of this stuff is brand new, and although they kept the articulation pretty much the same as the old kit was, everything is new. So it has the old school feel, but done in a brand new model kit kind of way. Even when we jump up to the head, it's very impressive. We've got some great color separation, fully color separated eyes, fully color separated Vulcans. Overall, this is an incredibly nice little kit, and it's limiting itself, or should I say Bandai limited its motion and all the aspects to it on purpose to get the old school feel. They could have went beyond, but they didn't, and in a way the kit is all the more fun for that reason. The weapons themselves are all very simple. The beam rifle is 1 piece, the beam saber is 1 piece, and the shield is made out of 3 pieces with some nice color on it. You do have a spare beam saber handle in here. It says use it as you want, and I assume this can be just used with a standard beam from another kit if you have one spare. But anyway, there it is in all of its old school glory. So this is it out of the box, just put together. So nothing has been changed, panel lined, cleaned up, or anything like that. That is just what it's like. Now, the only thing I really noticed that kind of is definitely lost in this is those little bit of a notch, well, pair of notches in the Gundam muzzle. So I might panel line those up, and I might get rid of those safety flags up there as well. So yeah, basically all I did right here was I grabbed a Gundam marker, the standard felt-tipped style, the really easy to use one. You just draw it on into those two lines in its face and you can just rub off the excess with your thumb and you get two nice clear lines. As for removing the safety flags, I just grabbed a god hand and just did 3 nips. Basically side, side, and back, and got them right off, just to kind of make this look as good as it can, especially up in the face, so you can see some of the detail on there, and it's got that more V-fin looking V-fin than something with 2 big old chunks on the end. Now what can I say, this right here is an absolute chad of a Gundam, a 1/44th scale, I assume, sized Gundam. I don't think anything I've ever really built on this channel has looked quite like the original RX-78-2 Gundam, quite as much as this right here. Now I know back in the old 1979 anime, the particular RX-78-2 in it, well, the only RX-78-2 there is, I should say, warps and lengthens and shortens and is all over the place, and that's why this really is the perfect rendition. That absolutely built upper body, those really long, almost awkward-like legs, as well as the really blocky kind of arms coming off with those almost like humanoid hands. Well, as humanoid, well, I'm not sure. They're almost like 2 inflated rubber gloves. It's brilliant. Everything about it is just so unapologetically old school. On top of that, though, we've got some awesome new school aspects, including a full color separated little yellow V in the crotch, which is next level definitely for something like that. And all of the colors are coming from within, like the yellow in the vents in the chest and the yellow in the eyes and the face. Now there is no black around them, but the shadow is somewhat implied once again, like we've seen multiple times before with Bandai's entry grade series. This is very, very nice. And actually, speaking of which, winding back a little bit, just like an entry grade kit, you do not need tools to put this together. You can just pull it off the runner with your hands and you don't need any glue, you just snip it together. I did use a nipper just to keep it as clean as possible without going overboard with the effort, but otherwise, this is a nice, fun Gundam model kit. As usual, there's the full 360-degree spin, and there really isn't a whole lot much to say here at all. This is extremely classic looking with that new little fresh coat of plastic, because it's not paint, but overall everything is nice and sharp. This is missing a lot of seams where we would have seen seams in the original kit, but we do have a replacement of some. Only some, not a whole lot of mold lines here and there. So if you do want this perfect looking, you would have to clean those up. But honestly, something that looks this retro, I feel like the couple of seams that are in it and the couple of mold lines just kind of add to that retro flair. Again, the color separation on the head is ridiculously good considering how simple this is. Full Vulcans, eyes, V-fin, and that chin beardy bit. Everything looking incredible. So jumping into the comparison now and getting beside some of the other 1/44th scale Gundams that were released in the last decade. There is 2015's High Grade Revive. As you can see as we go along, we get a little bit more detail in 2020's High Grade Beyond Global. Moving on to 2024's Real Grade RX-78-2 Gundam, it is fantastic, and as you can see, 2024's revival of the original Gundam really is peak high-grade Gunpla. Nothing compares, it is the best, it is the 1/44th scale Chad. There they are all side by side, and it is kind of like good, getting a little bit nicer, absolutely amazing looking, godlike. It really is 100% the best of the bunch. Wait till you see what we get with it. So jumping into the accessories, and here's everything that comes inside the box with this revival version of this particular Gundam. Now this is the usual sword, board, and beam rifle, and it's classic in every kind of way. The beam saber, as you can see, is one piece. The shield is really nice looking, honestly. The beam rifle is quite simple, and we do have this optional beam saber handle included as well. So first off in here, when it does come to the hands, these are the only ones that are included. These also will not hold any kind of modern Gundam weapon. As you can see, this is a very classic circular hole like this, so it's only going to hold what's included in this, and I assume what would have came with the old school original Gundam from 1979 or 1980, I think. These do come in half, but not in the usual kind of sandwich style in order to hold on to weapons. This is just basically how they assemble. You never need to disassemble them again. Weapon the first in here is the beam saber, and as you can see, this is very classic. This section right here is meant to be the beam. You will have to paint this in pink if you want it to be accurate. Down here, On the handle, we do have those little lines actually molded into it just here, so that does look pretty good, honestly, all things considered. This attaches into the hand just by sliding it in like so. Very simple, looking a little bit more like a baton than an actual beam saber. And the oddest aspect about this is the fact that these ones round here in the backpack, these are permanent. These do not come off. Now this kind of brings me to another point entirely. I'm assuming this right here was not the case in the old school version. This has the normal high-grade backpack adapter, which is pretty cool. But yeah, as you can see in here, if you do want to remove these little guys, you will have to cut them off. But I will mention, it seems like Bandai did keep that in mind, and I'm almost tempted to try this. Those segments right... fuck it, let's do it. It actually looks like we do have a little bit of a guideline right here for cutting these out. So if I snip it like so, and then just like so, this should still slot in according to my mental calculations, which I will admit most of the time are way off, but here we go. Will it actually attach on and hold? The answer seems a little bit like it's a no. So attach that on, see if this kind of cut like that will pop in and hold. Oh yeah, it will actually hold. So if you do want removable beam sabers, that is a simple modification Bandai has totally intended. All right, so there is the other one cut out. So pop it in like that. Pop this one in like that. And these do hold in. So if you actually do this and have one of the beam sabers there, you can take one of them out and it does look a little bit more like it makes some sense. That's pretty cool. Now we do have this little optional beam saber handle in here, which is a lot more modern looking. It is completely rounded. We do have a hole in the end for attaching a beam in. Beam is not included. And honestly, I can't complain about that too much, because I took a quick look around on my shelves for the couple of kits I do have up on them, and I noticed that I do not display my Gunpla with their beam sabers ever. Unless it's a special beam saber like the Perfect Grade Unleashed with a light in it. I have never done that. So I can't really complain about a kit not having beams in it because I don't actually use them. So that does mean I can't find any right now to actually test this out. So yeah, there is no beam in here, but if you have a pink beam lying around, which you may or may not, if you buy a lot of RX 78-2s, you can pop it in. Probably. Next up in here, we've got the beam rifle. Just look at this in all of its one-piece glory. This just comes on the runner like this. There is no yellow sight like we'd normally see on one of these beam rifles. It's just one hunk of plastic, and honestly, really, it's not that bad. Not that bad. So getting this attached into the hand is the exact same thing as the beam saber. So popping out the beam saber, realigning all that stuff back up on the backpack, popping this into the hand, and this is what it looks like. Again, ridiculously classic feel right here. Probably not changed too much besides the color from the OG kit. And overall, well, this right here is what it looks like in a pose, or at least what I can say is the closest thing you will get to a pose with this kit. But we'll have a little bit more on that later. Again, unapologetically old school in every regard. So next up in here, we've got the shield. Again, it's got nice color separation definitely around in the front part. That yellow Gundam star-like symbol right there. The red section is pretty much all color accurate. You're not able to see through the little bit of a visor section there, so I assume it's in its closed state. And there is the handle round back. Now, this is a little bit of a sea of white. Usually what you'd be seeing around here is gray, and that is one simple little handle. When it comes to attaching the shield, it's exactly the same as everything we would have seen with this so far. So it's a circular peg into a circular hole. It holds on surprisingly well, and that is what it looks like. Once again, attempting to get it into a little bit of a pose for displaying the shield. And the shield, it does look ridiculously good. Again, one of the finer aspects about this kit is the very nice color separation. However, the articulation obviously is not the greatest. They're keeping it old school on purpose, so you do get some old school, very awkward poses out of it. So finally, when it does come to compatibility on this kit, you're not going to get much things that are compatible. The shoulders are unique. They're ball joints like that right there. So find yourself some matching arms might be difficult. But the legs are like nothing I've ever seen before. They're almost like a kind of C-clip of sorts. Not fully, but kind of. They just slot like that. For example, if you even take a bit of a look at the box right here, this is absolute lies. This thing has its legs mildly kind of spread out a little bit, and that does not happen. All we've got is forward and back. So you're not going to find anything that fits those hips. So yeah, in the interest in checking out some compatibility on this, I decided to try and whip off the hands to see if the ball joint is the same as normal high-grade hands. I grabbed a Gundam from off the shelf, which is the Rising Freedom, high-grade Rising Freedom. I tried the hands with that and it did not work. The ball joints on this revival version just are that bit bigger. Of course, underneath the backpack right here, we do have the old school backpack adapter. So just grabbing the Rising Freedom's wings, popping them on for one hell of a Gundam upgrade. So these do match quite well with the color scheme. That is what they look like right there. And if you do want to get absolutely crazy with this particular kit for a custom, you can just go out there and grab yourself a standard Gundam backpack and slap it on. So finally now onto the articulation, and first off I will mention this thing is rock solid. That kind of is what happens when something doesn't have that many moving parts. So it is a solid kit. Now I'm going to go through everything first because it's going to be pretty quick, and then we'll get on to the usual pose a little bit after. So the neck is a single peg, so that means you only get a turn. No pivot up, no pivot down. The shoulder joint right here is the one with the most range of motion. It is a ball joint, so it's got all the way up and down like so. The full 360 degree round and about right there. And a little bit of pivot. The elbow itself is very limited, so it only bends to that point there. So there's straight and there's the bend, so not even to 90 degrees. The wrist on this, it's just rotation like so. It is a ball joint, so you can get a little bit of a kind of pivot like so. Bandai definitely rigidly adhered to the hip articulation of the past with this. It just swings forward and back, that much only. The Gundarium diaper or the iron diaper right there does get in the way of everything, so that's all you get. The bend at the knee is not much crazier, that is all we get out of that. And then down at the ankle, you get that little bit of a pivot down, but nothing really up. So if I do slap it on the ground to check out that functional movement, all you get is that to the back, which honestly isn't bad to the back, but nothing to the front or sides. Also, I will mention there's something real weird about how perfectly smooth the bottoms of these feet, well, the way they would feel. It's wrongly nice. But yeah, finally, the usual pose time. Now, I don't even need to like kind of speed this up. There isn't really anything it does. This is literally it. That is the best it can do. This is ridiculously, and like I mentioned before, unapologetically old school. That's all you are going to get out of it. And then it just does that. So anyway, that right there is it for the review. There is no point in grading this right here or giving it a tier. It's a kind of an old school novelty kit. This one right here is just to kind of feel what old school kits felt like with a little bit of a new technological spin to it. All the color separation is here, but Bandai did try to keep it as true to the old school kit while upping that color separation as possible, so it does feel super old school. This is definitely nostalgia fuel for people who were around building kits back in the 80s. Otherwise, from a modern perspective, it is nice to just have to see how far Gunpla has truly come. And even at that, this doesn't even show the original issues like all of the seams we would have seen in that old, completely in white kit of old. Anyway, it is a whole lot of fun. It does look cool and old school. Will slot in with a lot of your RX-78-2s to give what a lot of modern RX-78s don't give, and that is that old school flair. Anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching. I got mine through Hobby Link Japan. Link is down there in the description. As always, thank you. Did I say thank you already? If I didn't, thank you for the second time. See you next time. Once again, I can't finish this video right here without thanking each and every one of you guys for watching my videos. That makes absolutely everything on here possible. If you don't want to support more interesting videos or just to improve the overall quality of the channel, you can help out on the channel memberships and over on Patreon. Patreon is really what does fund any and all improvements quality-wise to this channel. So a special shout out to Abraxas, Caleb Engelhart, Joe, RG59061, ShadowWolf179, Van Fawn, and Scotty Thomas. Link to join the Patreon and the Discord down there in the description.